Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explain series. I'm Kushagra Goel. I'm very happy once again to see so many of you responding to the questions and being engaging with regards to the two questions yesterday. Most of you got it right with regards to Turkmenistan being the guest country and Khan Wallace being the person who was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1993. So, moving on, we'll cover the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in India once there are more details with regards to what has happened. With regards to the PCR technique and Nobel Prize, we'll discuss the Nobel Prize in general once there is more specific news with regards to if something about them is in news. Okay, now moving on with today's newspaper. The front page is preoccupied firstly with regards to farm bills. I have seen questions of many of you with regards to farm bills. I am waiting till there is some resolution with regards to the talks between the government and the farmers. Hopefully once that is there, we'll have some more idea with regards to them. Nevertheless, if the impasse continues, we will cover the farm bills within this week, the first week of December. Okay. On the right hand side is there is news and update with regards to one of the accused who is arrested and imprisoned in United States, and his extradition process has been going on. There is some updates with regards to this post. So the name is Thahavur Rana. Okay, this individual is also a prime accused in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. He is in imprisonment in United States. There is some detail that he even called up the Pakistan government and stated that, see, because of the thing that I have done, now I deserve an award from you all. So it shows the nexus between terrorist organizations and Pakistani government and how intertwined it is, and proves the narrative and the campaign that India has been running with regards to Pakistan, that it is a terrorist sponsoring state or a state that supports terrorism actively. So all these allegations just establish the level of entrenchment and roots that terrorist organizations have with regards to the government in Pakistan, and how there is a mutual exchange relationship between the terrorist organizations and the Pakistani establishment there, which is a shameful part because a member of the United Nations. Pakistan is a member of United Nations. In United Nations, once you become a member, you uphold the belief that you believe in sovereignty of each country and that you will not damage the sovereignty of another country. But terrorism exactly is a methodology to overpower that belief, and Pakistan still continues to be a member of all of this. Okay. Now, there is on the left hand side, there is a news with regards to an artist who is undertaking a program. Srinagar is now undergoing a movement of rapid urbanization development. Old markets are being redeveloped. So it's a movement where this architect is trying to recapture the old heritage and putting it in front for all of us for record books. So this is exactly what happens, for example, with the old Chandni Chowk, Shahjahanabad during the British time. There were artists who had recaptured the original Shahjahanabad. So those kind of things is what makes us humans different from animals, that we can keep memories intact, we can keep stories alive for centuries, and this is the methodology of recreating or keeping the stories alive. Okay, there is one news here. China's not for downstream dam on Brahmaputra. We'll discuss this in a little bit more depth today. Farmer updates, farmer protests are the news here. Then there is 1/4 real estate units in Gurugram are stressed. So all these are specific regional news, not relevant from CLAD perspective. Okay. Then there is caught on the wrong foot, an update again with regards to the COVID pandemic only, and how the new restrictions have led to people, because the wedding season is here, people have already sent invites and all of that, and now they have to retract. The spread of the virus is still going on. Continue to dip. It is now, as the CM of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, has stated that the third wave of COVID is receding in Delhi, and the numbers reflect that. Okay. Moving on, more political news, update from the magazine. Then on the editorial page. Okay, the main editorial is about India's vaccination program and what should we be doing. So again, there are different vaccine candidates. Yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the pharmaceutical facilities of 3 such candidates. So this is another health expert talking about what we should be doing, how, telling us. See, some editorials are also informative in the sense that they retell the story of vaccination. So in general, because we haven't come across a new disease on such a scale, the entire concept of vaccination may be lost on the general population. So this is also an editorial to re-inform you all, refresh memories of everyone that see, India follows this, this is the thing. Now will we be doing it differently, will we not be doing it differently? So all that speculation is here, okay, not relevant from a academic clad perspective. Okay, then reaping the whirlwind, farmer needs more than verbal assurance, continuance of MSP guaranteed procurement. With regards to the farm bills again, okay, once we'll be covering that, we'll cover this. This editorial is simply telling us how, what the demands of the farmers are with regards to a guaranteed legislation for MSP. Once you understand the farm bills, we'll cover this. Rest assured, in this week we will cover the farm bills. Tomorrow I will be covering the Roshni Act and land reforms from Jammu and Kashmir and the story there, and a little bit with regards to the Andhra Pradesh Amravati, because see, both those things are related to land redevelopment. Okay, so tomorrow I will be covering that. On Wednesday or Thursday we'll cover the farm bills. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Okay, now then there is historic recession. India's economy needs a robust demand stimulus to avoid a protracted slump. So see, the new GDP figures are out. Okay, this editorial tells us that see, India's economy is in a technical recession now. We have contracted for 2 consecutive quarters, 3-month cycle, and now there is a need to create more demand. Economic functions in general, capitalist economy works on demand supply basis. Once there is more demand, there will be more supply. When there is more supply, if there is more demand, that means people have free money to spend. When you have free money to spend, only then you will, and when people will spend more, there will be money in the market. When money is there in the market and supply is more, or there is a need to supply more, people will employ more people. When people will employ more people will have income. When more people have income, they will again have more demand, more supply, and then the economy keeps on rotating. Okay, now this article tells us that see, there is a real slump and that India needs a sustained demand stimulus. So again, we'll be covering this in a little bit more depth from a different graph that is there in the Hindu editorial today. Okay, on the right hand side is again the political economy of journalism, the Hindu's editor talking about the things not relevant from perspective. Okay, on the left hand side is the Paris Agreement is no Panakia. Panakia means that a Ramban, Sanjeevani Booty, that this agreement is not one and all. If we fulfill the engagements within the Paris Agreement, we will be able to do everything. Okay, or climate change crisis can be averted. So that is not the case. This article traces down how climate politics had moved on till the 2009 Copenhagen Accord, and the Paris Agreement is a departure from it. Okay, so climate change had, once there was a realization of climate change, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was the first prominent public authority in our country to talk about environment and climate change. Her speech at Stockholm had become a word of mouth for every household in India, because she had brought this entire new concept for everyone, that there is a new kind of crisis that will be coming for us in future, and she has been proven right with regards. So when this entire concept of climate change was going on, there was a belief that see, there is a common need but different responsibilities. That see, climate change has happened because the developed countries started industrializing in the 18th, 19th century, and when they did it, the pollution that they caused, the carbon emissions that they undertook are the real reason why climate change is happening today. The developing countries, the ones that are free from colonization in the 20th century, cannot be held responsible for it. So the principle was that there is a need for different responsibilities. this article is entire narration of that now the Paris Agreement doesn't differentiate between developed and developing countries. Everyone has their nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and based on that, countries have demarcated how much and what they will be doing to prevent climate change from happening. So this is the entire article narrating the story from climate change, not relevant for us in the sense of there is nothing specific. There are certain treaties that are there which we can trace the names of them, okay. The most important one starting from the Earth Summit in 1992, it happened at Rio. Then it was the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, then the Copenhagen Accord in 2009, and then the 2015 Paris Agreement, okay. Paris Agreement is in news because, see, it is always in news because climate change is now in relation to Paris Agreement, that everything prior to that has stopped, and the Paris Agreement is a breakthrough movement that we have to ensure we don't heat up the planet by 1.5 degrees, okay. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, is part of the Paris Agreement. This is the entire narrative. So Paris Agreement is the new foundation on which climate change crisis is being addressed. So the previous treaties don't hold that much relevance unless you're a environment historian or something, okay. Moving on the left hand side, again the assassination and its aftermath with regards to Saudi Arabia, Israel being the win-win candidate with regards to assassination of the Iranian scientist that we had discussed yesterday. So that is it. There is speculation that Israel has been the one who will win, that if there is more conflict between Iran and US, it's a win for Israel. So it's an analysis of that, nothing specific for us. We'll be discussing this graph in little bit depth because this is regards to the GDP figures that were released 2 days ago, okay. Then again more political news, nothing of relevance for us here, okay. The news with regards to the dam is something we'll be discussing this page, okay. Then there is an update with regards to the National Investigation Agency in Stan Swami's case. So he had applied to the NIA stating in the court that, see, I have Parkinson's disease, I cannot hold a bowl or drink with my hands, I need my sipper, and the NIA has stated that, see, we never took it in investigation, it was never in our custody, so you can apply it again and get it from the court if you want one. So 20 days they took to respond that they never took it. This shows that a little bit of callousness with regards to human rights of another human by the investigation agency, which was criticized by the court also. But the updates are something that we'll have to keep an eye on, okay. Then there is magazine news, nothing relevant. Again on the foreign policy, this is the news that we'll be discussing. Defense Minister of China visiting Nepal. We'll be discussing this news. There is an update that there was a new attack on the Afghanistan forces. In Afghanistan, casualty, suicide bomber. No one has claimed ownership of who carried out this attack. The talks between Taliban and US government are taking place, which will give political power or recognition to the Taliban in Afghanistan. So that is why keeping this in mind is important. Once there is more concrete news with regards to that, we'll keep in mind, okay. Then the Ethiopian, there is an update with regards to the Ethiopian crisis. We have been covering the Ethiopian crisis at depth as and when there have been more updates, okay. So if you haven't watched it, if you still have doubts, I suggest you go back. For people who have never watched the series or are new viewers, I suggest you go back and watch the previous episodes because there we have discussed this crisis at depth, okay. So there is no point wasting time of other viewers by repeating it all over again. The new update is that the Ethiopian forces had given an ultimatum of 72 hours. They moved into the city of Mekelle, and there is news that they have taken over the city of Mekelle, and the TPLF forces have receded. Now there is a hunt going on to capture the leaders, which is now basically a guerrilla warfare situation, that the areas, surrounding areas, these places will now be a hunting raid or hunting operation that will have to be taken down because these people have not laid down their arms but have escaped, okay. Now moving on, there is investment news, and on the sporting front, India lost the series to Australia after losing the yesterday's ODI match. Nothing new. There was a massive crash in the Formula One race that took place at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Romain Grosjean, a French driver, suffered a horrific crash. His Formula One car took up in flames, got divided into half. Hopefully there is news that he's safe now. So all of that, there is a news with regards to that. Nothing else for us, okay. Now let's quickly dive into the in-depth news, okay. Now there was one thing in the comment section yesterday that, see, I've not been talking about persons in news in specific. See, there is no limitation to what can exactly come with regards to general knowledge, okay, or any question paper for that matter. Indian question papers or CLAT even before the new pattern was erratic in the sense that sometimes sports news became relevant, sometimes it wasn't. So there is no specific pattern that we could do. In general, whenever I cover topics, I tell you the persons who are involved with regards to news, okay? I don't skip those parts. So it's now up to you how much importance you give. The idea is I will be covering it. So for example, yesterday when we had talked about the assassination of Iranian scientist, we had covered a little bit of brief history, his organization, his name. We had talked about the other person who was assassinated, the names of other 6 scientists who had been assassinated, the countries involved. When there was a summit between, alleged summit between Mohammed bin Salman and Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. So I've been talking about names. I am not skipping the names, okay. It's just that on the board I don't write the names, but I speak them, okay. Because see, we have a limited space and there are things that we have to explain. There is nothing to explain to you when I say that this person was killed, right? The name is something that you can hear and note it down. The name is also there in the article and I'm saying it. But I'm not writing in the board doesn't mean that I am not mentioning it or the name is not relevant. So for example, in this project or yesterday's news with regards to China's nuclear power plant, Harlung 1. So we named the power plant that was there, the province that was there. So the place in news and the person in news are something that I'm always talking about. So if you have a doubt, I suggest you replay the video if you have missed a name, or you could reduce the playback speed of the video if you feel that you can't catch up with the speed at which I am speaking. So slow it down from the normal speed of 1, reduce it to let's say 0.75 or 0.5, okay, so that you don't feel that you have missed out. Now moving on to today's news. See, Brahmaputra as a river is the river that goes around in a U-turn format, okay. It starts in Tibet, then flows into Arunachal Pradesh, okay. So that turn where it flows is known as the Great Bend, okay, that Great Bend. Now usually the long stretch of Brahmaputra are known as the upper and the middle sections of the river, okay. The Great Bend is known by the Chinese as the lower section of the Brahmaputra river. Now the river politics plays out in this way: upper riparian state and lower riparian state. Because the river originates in China, China is known as the upper riparian state, okay, and we come below. So if China controls the water with regards to dams, then we as a lower riparian state will suffer. Remember, the floods in Brahmaputra and the water flow of Brahmaputra is essential for the ecosystem in the northeast. With regards to Kaziranga National Park and other national parks in northeast, the river flow and year on year flooding becomes important to sustain the kind of ecosystem, wildlife and flora and fauna that exists there, okay. Now if China builds more dams there, the water flow will be less, plus then the flow of the river will not be natural but artificially created by the Chinese. So let's say if they want to create trouble in northeastern India or cause damage to India's infrastructure in the northeast, they could release more water, and that is why this kind of news is always in news whenever China plans something. So with regards to what it has already done, in the upper sections, China has already built one dam, hydropower plant known as Zangmu Dam. There are 3 under construction: Dagu, Jiksa and Jingsha. Okay, the names are very dicey, so I suggest you write them down: Dagu, Dagu, Jiexa, Zixa and Xiasha. Jiacha. These three are under construction on the middle section. China calls them flow of the river dams. Okay, there are two kinds of hydropower plants that exist. Okay, one are storage plus hydropower plants. For example, the Hirakund, Bhakra Nangal dams that we have in India. They store water and then release some amount of water to create hydro energy. The flow of the river dams are ones that do not curtail or store the water, they let them naturally flow, and at the end of the fall put turbines and generate electricity. So the flow of the river is not damaged. Now there is plan by the Chinese to build a project, an idea basically, that this company, Power China, which is a government organization, and their president Xian Jiong has stated that, see, we want to build more hydropower plants on the lower section, which is the Great Bend, because it has potential to create 300 billion kilowatt per hour of electricity. Okay, so this is a plan that they have. Now, what is the plan? The plan is to build a dam. The structure, the nature of the dam, not yet known, because see, it is an idea. On the Yarlung Zangbo river. In Tibet, Brahmaputra is known as Yarlung Zangbo, a hydro plant approximately to the capacity of 60 to 70 million kilowatt per hour. Okay, on the Great Bend, where in the Great Bend, Grand Canyon, Midok County of in Tibet. This is in Tibet. Okay, Tibet is the area that adjacents this. The Grand Canyon in Medong County. This is the region which he states he wants to build the dam in the lower section. This is the exact news, nothing concrete. Okay, all these have been happening all the time, plus the geographical limitations of building a dam there are still massive. So that is why even if this is in news doesn't mean it can actually materialize. But what is concrete are the 4 dams that are already there. So those names become relevant for you, and the place, the name of the river and the place where they plan. So what is the Great Bend? The Great Bend happens and on which China plans to build more hydropower plants. Okay, moving on to the next news. Now this is a proper place in news, person and place in news kind of story, that Chinese Defense Minister Wei Jingzhou, General Wei Fenghe has visited Japan. Recently, India has tried to reapproach its ties with regards to Nepal. Okay, our foreign secretary visited, our army chief had visited Nepal recently in the previous month. So that is why this entire story, remember, Nepal acts as a buffer between China and India on the borders of Uttar Pradesh, right? If, for example, Nepal was a part of the Chinese, then imagine the length of the border that we would have to defend against the Chinese, remember. Okay, and Uttar Pradesh is a proper plains area. So defending that with regards to Chinese would have been even more difficult. What has he done? He has visited Nepal and why has he visited and what he has done? So he met the Prime Minister and the President of Nepal, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Khadga Prasad Sharma Oli, he's always in news, and the President Bidya Devi Bhandari. These are the 2 people he met. On the railway, on the airport, he was received by the Army Chief Purna Chandra Thapa, okay, and he conducted talks with him. Remember, there was one question with regards to India-Nepal talks in CLAT 2020. That is why we have to always keep in mind the stories of India's borders. Every time there is a new development with regards to neighbors of India is something that is directly relevant to the CLAT based on the pattern. Okay, so this is the entire story. He has come, he has met the people he have met. There is other speculation that the Nepal's Communist Party is a bit on divide, so he is also will be trying to allay the fears, try to bridge the gap between the Communist Party. Remember, if it's divided, the Communist Party acts as a soft policy intervention for the Chinese. Chinese are controlled by communist government, and Nepal is also, if the Communist Party in Nepal is strong by the Chinese, then they can influence the politics in Nepal. If they can influence the politics in Nepal, they can create trouble for India in our country, right? So that is why this is soft power diplomacy that they are employing. That's why he have visited to allay and sort out the fire, douse the fire in the Nepal's Communist Party, and plus he has met these people. That's it, okay? Then there is this analysis graph that is there, okay. Now what is this graph tells us? It's a figure with regards to India's GDP growth. So the first graph is this, that this part is the minus 23 when we had reduced, our growth had reduced, okay, in the previous quarter, okay, this part. And then there is the other one which is minus 75, the other graph. So our economy is in recession when it shows that, see, our growth is in negative 0 and then it is below that, right? Then there is figure of why, what are the sectors that have resulted in better growth, in the sense that there is a rebound in the manufacturing sector, the massive rebound which has created some, which has exceeded the expectations of the economist, which is the manufacturing sector for us, okay. And then this graph is the one that relates to the editorial that had come today, okay. Nothing for in the editorial that is specific. What it shows is the spending of the government. In this month, we had discussed two specific schemes that the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had announced. One, production linked scheme, and the other, Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0 package, okay. In both the things, there was criticism that the government is not spending directly. This graph proves that see, the government final consumption expenditure, the expenditure that the government does for the people has been reducing. So it is still below, and that there is the expenditure of the private sector on of people is rising, but that of the government is falling. It's just to explain that, see, what the critics actually say is reflected in numbers also. And then it shows that, see, India is still 5th or 6th among the worst performing economies of the world. That only Chile, United Kingdom, Colombia, Spain and Mexico are the economies that have performed worse than us. Rest everyone is performing better. There is negative growth, but we have a more significant negative growth. The reason why there is less trouble when we talk about economies like UK, Spain, Mexico, because they are still far ahead in curve of development for us. A developing economy with 300 million people still below poverty line, if there is negative growth in our economy, what it means is poverty will rise in India. When there is a rise in poverty, that means more strain on the government to spend on social security schemes to improve the financial and sustain those people. When the government is spending on social schemes, then there is less money for investment. When there is less money for investment, there is less money for government to create infrastructure to result in growth. Then the government will have to either take loans, okay, which will reduce the debt burden of the government. So this is why these analysis becomes important on a quarterly basis. This is just to explain to you why there is a fall and what is the growth, what is causing our growth in the economy. That's about it. It's just to give you a picture of what is really happening in the news and why economics matters to the day-to-day lives of us, okay. The farm bills are directly in the realm of economics too. So that is why, don't worry, we'll cover them in a day's time. Tomorrow I will cover the Roshni Act and the other land reforms in Amravati and other places. So don't worry, do wait for tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any doubts with regards to this, do put it down in the comment section. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are still among those who have not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss the update for tomorrow. Thank you.